Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video today, I will be going over every single universe that you go into in Space with Markiplier Part 2. Now, I might end up missing a few on accident since In Space with Markiplier Part 2 is pretty confusing with all the choices of left and right through the wormhole, but I'm gonna try my best to go through every single one of them. So without further ado, let's begin. So the first universe we get teleported to, I'm gonna go ahead and call Stan the Waterman universe. Now, in this universe, it is canon that all the other Markiplier lore videos are just fairy tales. It's just like stories and books. So therefore, this universe can't be the same universe as the Markiplier lore universe. And just to be clear, whenever I say Markiplier lore universe, I'm talking about Who Killed Markiplier, Wilfred Warfstache, and mostly every other Markiplier lore video. All of those are on one single timeline together, but let's continue. So, if you choose horror, you get to see A Murder with Markiplier. A Murder with Markiplier does take place in the Markiplier lore universe for two reasons. The first reason is because we get to see a younger version of Abe, and the second reason is because it is a book that Stan the Waterman reads to us, and all the other books and options that he could have read to us are also other projects that are canon to the Markiplier lore universe as well. Therefore, this one is most likely also canon. But now moving on to the restaurant filled with chefs. This restaurant seems to be ran by multiple variants of chefs, and the fact that multiple types of aliens are eating there, along with the fact that you can only see like outer space whenever you look out through the windows, makes me believe that this could take place in the In Space with Markiplier universe. And for those of y'all who haven't watched my past theories, I have a hot take about In Space with Markiplier taking place in a different universe than the Markiplier lore universe. A lot of people seem to disagree with me on that, but I've already explained myself multiple times before in my past theories, so let's try to stay on topic since we have a whole lot of other universes to cover in this video. If you choose to go right on the wormhole, then you end up getting to see Where in the World is Markiplier. Now, I think that the Where in the World is Markiplier is kind of a sequel to both The Date with Markiplier and A Heist with Markiplier. The main reasons I think this is because we got the Men in Black people who made their first appearance in A Date with Markiplier. Plus, our character is a retired person who used to work for them and now is going to help them try to locate and find Heist Markiplier. This is because Heist Markiplier ended up escaping prison. And what other time do we see Heist Markiplier escaping prison? This honestly just helps prove one of my past theories about how Yancey can't be Heist Markiplier, because Heist Markiplier actually ended up escaping the prison in that scene of A Heist with Markiplier. Moving on to this scene. Now, this scene is actually pretty obvious where it takes place. I mean, we're literally in The Invincible 2, so I'd say that's pretty safe to say that this scene right here takes place in the In Space with Markiplier universe. Moving on to the next one after this, which is actually the Yancey cameo. The fact that Yancey's there in the first place, and that he told us that he's gonna apply for parole, quite obviously makes this scene take place in the Markiplier lore universe. Just like with the Where in the World is Markiplier clip. I guess I never outright said it when I was talking about that one. Where in the World is Markiplier is also in the Markiplier lore universe. Just making that clear, that's why I said it's like a sequel to both A Date with Markiplier and A Heist with Markiplier. But anyways, moving on. This next wormhole transition shows us Lady in a more broken down, more abandoned looking office. In this scene, she also ends up getting the blue crystal, so that alone just outright tells us that this scene takes place in the In Space with Markiplier universe, more specifically, the future and or somewhat distant past. But in all seriousness, that reference does actually make sense here because this does take place in the future, but then she uses the blue crystal to go back in time to before she was supposed to have the blue crystal, and now at this point I'm just going on a rant about In Space with Markiplier. Let's move on. Next up, we got this scene, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be a reference back to whenever Markiplier hit a certain subscriber milestone, but I'm not fully sure. I might be wrong about that. Now, I think this scene takes place in either one of these two universes, either the Markiplier lore universe, or it might be its very own universe where the only Markiplier is just the YouTuber Markiplier who makes gaming videos, and that's why he just is so happy reaching his milestone right now. Or with how the multiverse works, it might be both of them. Because when thinking in infinites, unlikely is just certainty, waiting for its turn. Now let's move on to some bomb defusal with Markiplier. Now, to be completely honest, this one could pretty much go in any universe. It can go in its own universe, it can go in the Markiplier lore universe, probably not the In Space With Markiplier universe, but my best guess will be that it takes place in the Who Killed Markiplier universe, also known as the Markiplier lore universe. Next up, we got Camp Markiplier. Now, again, there's not really any proof to say that this doesn't go in any of the other universes, but if I'm sticking with my latest guess for the bomb defusal with Markiplier, then this one must not take place in the Markiplier lore universe. Especially because of the fact that one of the options that you can choose after this will lead you back to the Markiplier lore universe with Wilfred Warfstache, but let's not talk about that yet. I'd assume that this one doesn't go with the In Space With Markiplier universe as well, since the fact that it's not in space. So my best assumption is that this one is its very own universe. But hey, speaking of Wilfred Warfstache, next up is the Wilfred Warfstache cameo. Now this cameo quite literally takes place at the exact same time as the Wilfred Mother-Loving Warfstache video, so it's pretty obvious that this one takes place in the Markiplier lore timeline, or universe, whatever you want to call it. In this next one, Lady has Bandit at gunpoint and is trying to ask her where she can find the captain and engineer mark. The place around them kind of reminds me of this other clip. Maybe both of these clips take place in the same universe. Or this clip just takes place in the normal In Space With Markiplier universe, either one. Next up, we got the Jim cameo, which I'm pretty sure just takes place in the normal In Space With Markiplier universe. Not gonna lie, at this point, with how many gyms there are everywhere, I wouldn't be surprised if gyms were just their own alien species. Now, you might be thinking, if Jim right now is in the In Space With Markiplier universe, then how is he in Markiplier TV and Who Killed Markiplier, which take place in the Markiplier lore universe? Well, look at this scene right here. All the gyms are going into different wormholes. What if one of those wormholes led to the Markiplier lore universe, and that explains why there are gyms in both Who Killed Markiplier and Markiplier TV? But hey, that's just a theory, a gym theory. And speaking of game theory references, the next clip is the MatPat cameo. Now, of course, I'm willing to bet that Space Theory is, of course, its own universe, probably one where all the game theory and film theory videos are also canon. So next up, we got the Space Was So Cool song. Now this one could be its own universe, or it could be a clip from actor Mark's In Space With Markiplier video. Because we already know that actor Mark was making his own version of In Space With Markiplier, which is not the same version that we're playing through. But at the end of the day, that's just a little guess. There's not too much proof behind it. I just thought that could help explain why there's Engineer Mark along with all the other Markiplier alter egos we meet, like kinda all next to each other singing. But that's just a tiny little theory. Next up, we're back at the Chef Variant restaurant. Except this time, there are 0 chefs to be found, and the place looks like it has been closed down, which it has been. But we already talked about which universe the chef restaurant takes place in, so let's move on. So now we're back in the In Space With Markiplier universe. Well, actually, we've been back because that chef restaurant is also in the In Space With Markiplier universe as well. But anyways, we have reached our final destination for In Space With Markiplier Part 2. Now, actually, we are not done with the video yet, because we've only done like half of the universes that you end up going to throughout the Markiplier lore, so let's go ahead and speedrun through a few more. Both the end credit scene and an evening with Markiplier take place in the Markiplier lore universe. In Space with Mac either takes place in its very own universe, or it is the In Space with Markiplier universe. It's just because all the timelines and universes are all glitching and all that, then that could explain why Mac is replacing Mark. Hunted by He Who most likely takes place in its own universe. Perhaps the same universe as Camp Markiplier, who knows? The one with that author gambling person takes place in its very own universe. Perhaps the same universe as Stan the Waterman, since they're both about stories coming to life. To be honest, I'm still debating whether or not Abe's cameo actually takes place in the Markiplier lore universe or not, because yes, he's wearing the same clothes as he is in Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache, but at the same time, he's not obsessing over Wilford Wharfstache. You'd think that he'd still be obsessed with trying to find the Colonel at this point in time if it was the Markiplier lore universe, but instead he's just chilling and turning into dogs. This musical type scene, most likely In Space with Markiplier universe. Same thing with this video game inspired scene, it's just since the universe is kind of breaking and all that, I'd assume that's why people are suddenly singing, or that's why people are suddenly 8-bit. Or who knows, maybe for those two clips I'm just wrong and they are both their very own universe. Despite having returning characters from A Heist with Markiplier, I feel like this one's probably just its own universe since it's all puppets. And this one, most likely just a different universe that's just a black void. And last but not least, we can't forget the dude on the thumbnail itself, Neuer. His detective-like In Space with Markiplier universe is probably its own universe as well. And with that said, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy. If I missed any clips, or if you think I got any of the clips wrong on which universe they take place in, then make sure to tell me in the comments below, so that way I will know for the future theories. So I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.